So the I am technique is perhaps the technique that I am most passionate about. It's the technique I share most, or I talk most about here on my channel. And I wanted to share with you the story of how I came about this technique, because the I am technique was not something that I learned from anyone. It wasn't something that I was taught. But it was Neville Goddard who helped me simplify it into the form that it is. But I've had people asking, where can I find out more about this technique and where is it in the books that Neville has written? And the thing is, it's just something that I became aware of over a number of years. And I want to share that story with you because it wasn't until I came to Neville's work and the work of I Am that I was able to kind of put that cherry on top, which simplifies it into what it is today and what I share with you on this channel. So that's what we're going to do today. My name is Hedley, and if you have found my channel, you are in the right place. If you'd like to know more about me or my offerings, including Law of Assumption one-to-one coaching, where we will help to re-script and reimagine any of the stories that you have running. My self-concept course, I Am the One. There is a free version and a paid version of that, and my book, I Am Money, which will completely transform your relationship with money by changing the story that you are telling about it first. You'll find all of those details in the box below this video. But if I could ask you to do just one simple thing, if you are enjoying these videos, if you are enjoying my channel, if you could just engage in some way with a like, a comment, or even better, press that subscribe button on your screen, that would be most appreciated. Thank you so much. So before I get into the story, I just want to give you an update on my latest plan with these videos, because as you know, I've been doing one video a week, which I publish on Monday. And while I love making these videos, I also wanted to do something that really embeds this. So I've decided for now that what I'm going to do, I'm just going to experiment because I just want to see how much time this does actually take me per week. But I want to do a meditation that matches up with the information so that the information and the meditation go together each week. And I'm planning on publishing the video on Monday as usual, but then following up with a meditation on Wednesday so that you can actually embed that information, because this work is all about the conscious knowing and the subconscious knowing. If we are just knowing something but we're not actually applying it, then we're really not actually knowing it. We're just inhaling more information, and there is so much information out there already. As you know, I just got caught on a bit of a scroll recently where my Instagram thing popped up and said, you have been on Instagram for this amount of time, and I'm like, oh shit, time to get off. So it happens to all of us where we just get absolutely distracted and pulled into that rabbit hole of content that is out there. So I wanted to do something where we can take ourselves out of that vortex and just use our time a bit more wisely. So I'm going to do, as I said, I'm going to do a video at the beginning of the week and a meditation in the middle of the week. So we'll see how that goes. It's a bit of an experiment, but it's something that I've been wanting to do for a while. So I wanted to share the story of how this I Am technique came about, because this wasn't a technique I learned from anyone. And this is why I wanted to share the story, is because there's a bit of confusion with this I Am technique. I've never actually shared where this technique came from. So there is just a general assumption that this is a technique that Neville taught. And then when people ask, well, where do I find the teachings of this? Well, you don't, because he didn't actually specifically share this technique. He speaks a lot about the I Am, and it was his teachings that enabled me to refine the I Am technique into what it is today and what I share a lot in my videos. And there is an I Am playlist if you want to know more. And this by far has changed my life unlike anything else, because it is so simple and yet so powerful. It continues to blow my mind, and I am incredibly grateful to all of my teachers that I've learned, including the yogic traditions, the tantric traditions. All of the spiritual traditions that I have studied over the years have enabled me to have this realization and have this awareness and be able to put this together. So I want to take you through that process so that you have a bit more of an understanding of where this process comes from. And also, by understanding where it comes from, it'll give you a greater understanding as to why and how it works. Because this technique, as I said, is the most powerful technique I've ever used, and it works every time. Fast forward to 2017, and I was on a train in Europe. I can't remember where I was going, but I was on this train. And there was a guy sitting diagonally opposite me, and he was speaking very loudly. And everyone in the carriage was privy to this guy's conversation. And I sat there just for about 20 minutes or half an hour. I can't remember how long, but it was a little while, in full judgment. I was like, who is this guy? Who does he think he is? This is so rude, so disrespectful, and rah, 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 rah. And at some point, within all of that judgment and righteousness of how dare he, I had this thought just come straight into my awareness. We are all one. That was the thought. And it stopped me in my tracks because I kind of looked at the guy and I was like, okay, well, if we're one, then surely I can get him to get off the phone, or at least like bring the volume down. So what I did was I looked at the guy, directed my attention to the guy, and I intentionally pushed all of my energy into the guy. And the intention was that I would push my energy into his throat and block his throat so that he would stop talking loudly. That was like, it was just a very amateur, like this was literally the first time that I had ever done anything like this. So I didn't really know what I was doing. I certainly wasn't meaning to cause harm. But that's what I did. I pushed my energy in particular into his throat. My intention was to stop that conversation. Very quickly, I can't remember how long, but it was quick, the phone call ended, and it was the other guy on the phone who just suddenly hung up. And so suddenly the carriage just went quiet. And I was like, what? Like, I was shocked. I was so shocked that I went, no way. There's no way that I had anything to do with this. That's just a coincidence. But then what happened, not too long after, he fell into a coughing fit as if there was something stuck in his throat. And I was like, oh shit, that's not good. Like, I don't want to be causing harm to anyone. And I certainly didn't mean to do that. I obviously didn't know what I was doing, but I was still kind of convinced it was a coincidence, and yet it wasn't. I was kind of freaked out by the whole thing. So I continued exploring with the technique. The next memory I have of this is a year later when I was living in Bali and I was at my local cafe. And as you probably know, there's a lot of expats in Bali, a lot of people living over there and working over there. What do they call them? Digital nomads. So there was this girl in the cafe and she had her whole office set up in this cafe. She had the laptop open, she had her phone out, and she was conducting her calls on loudspeaker, which pissed me off to no end. So again, I sat there in full judgment. I've come a long way since these days. But anyway, I sat there in full judgment going, who does she think she is? That's so rude, so disrespectful. Doesn't she know there are other people in the cafe? Like blah, 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 blah. For a good, I don't know, it felt like a long time. And then I remembered what had happened on the train. So I tried again, and this time though, I didn't deliberately go into her throat. I just took all of my energy and I directed it into her, and I pushed my energy into her. So it was very intentional, and I looked at her and I pushed all of my energy into her. And once I felt like I was embodied in her, I then commanded her to, or what I felt like was a command, was to turn the volume down or get off the phone. I can't exactly remember what the instructions were. But then nothing was really happening, and I was like, I just kept doing it. I kept focusing on her, and I just kept imagining her closing the computers or getting off the phone. And anyway, I went back to my coffee, and it was after I went back to my coffee, and it was probably a few seconds after, everything just stopped. She closed the computer, she unpacked everything, and then she just worked quietly for the rest of the time. Again, I was blown away, but again, I was like, no, that has to be a coincidence. There's no way that that could have anything to do with me. So I simply could not believe that I had any command over my reality for a good few years. And yet I would continue to use this technique, and every time it worked, I got the results, but I continued to believe it was a coincidence. But after doing something for so long and getting the results, it got to the point where I was like, this can't be a coincidence. This is working. And I just kept testing because I just didn't believe it. So, and that's the other thing. I mean, you don't have to believe this stuff for it to work. I really couldn't believe that this had anything to do with what I was doing, and yet I kept getting the results. So then fast forward to 2021 when I rediscovered Neville's teaching. So by this stage, I've been using this technique for a number of years, but I was doing all of this hoo-ha around pushing my energy into people and there was a whole thing involved in it. And I was reading Neville's work. His work spoke to me in a way that nobody else's work had really spoke to me. Like, it was truth. It was like feeling something that I had known. And here's this person putting a language to something that I felt like I had always known. And it was just so liberating and just so enlightening. And I was so eternally grateful. And I read Neville's work on I am, and I became obsessed because I was obsessed with I am from when I was a little girl. I was obsessed with affirmations. In fact, I was obsessed with Stuart Wilde, who was teaching affirmations at that point. And so I was into affirmations from a very early age, in particular I am affirmations. So I have always had an affinity with I am without really understanding why. So when I read Neville's work, I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is what I've known but haven't had a language for. But what it did for me was it helped me simplify what I was doing even further, because I realized that I didn't have to be pushing my energy into anyone because they are reflections of me. So it occurred to me, well, why don't you just put I am in front of what you're observing? Because if I am is the observer, then just claim it with I am and then command the result from I am. So I started experimenting this. This is back in 21. I started experimenting by just claiming I am that person, or I am them, I am him, I am her, and I am. And I just would command the result that I wanted. And again, it worked. But what was really interesting, it worked even faster than when I was pushing my energy into people. And I kept testing and testing and testing, and I just kept testing, and it kept working, and I kept testing, and I kept working. And then eventually I made a video, Claim Them As I Am, which was the first video I made. I'll pop it up here. And that was the first video that I made on this technique. Up until that point, I was just working with people. But then I realized that I am is the observer of everything. Anything that I am observing is subject to the observations of I am. So I actually started applying the technique to anything and everything. Inanimate objects, situations, the weather. I've done a video on that. And every single time it worked. I have changed the weather multiple times in situations where I needed it to change. I have found things that have been lost for 6 months that I never thought I'd see again. I mean, this technique continues to blow my mind. And even though I've been using this for so many years now, and I know 100% that it works, I am still blown away. It still blows my mind every single time. It's like the first time every time. It never gets old. It just continues to amaze me and leave me in a state of awe. And that's the other reason why I love it. You do not have to believe this for it to work. And I've had so many people who have not believed it and just given it a go anyway, and it worked. In fact, I had a friend of mine DM me today, and he's not into law of assumption, but he said, I saw a post that you posted on Instagram. I went to your channel. I watched a video on the I am. And he said, I've been a little bit light on work. He's in the film industry. And so he said, I am this person who was somebody who he hadn't spoken to in a year, but was somebody who used to give him a lot of work. He said, I am this person and I am contacting my friend about a job. And the following day, this person contacted him about a big job, and then he got the contract for this job, and off he goes. Now, that was the first time he used this technique. In fact, there's somebody on my channel at the moment who keeps coming back and commenting, this technique works, it works, it works. All you have to be willing to do is claim what you are observing with I am, and then claim the result that you are wanting in reality, and you do it in the present. Let's say I misplace these glasses. I do it all the time. I am my glasses and I know exactly where I am. Or I am my glasses and I am found. And every single time, this is why I've still had these same glasses. I've had these glasses for years now. Do you know how many times I have lost these glasses? But I am the glasses and I am always found. And hey, here we are. Actually, they're a bit dirty. I am the glasses and I am found. So if you are new to the I am technique, I am going to be sharing more about it because this is what I am most passionate about. Have a look at the I am playlist. Go through those videos and practice and experiment and play with it. And also don't give up. Don't throw it away if it doesn't work the first time. Just give it a go. Experiment, Remember, when things aren't going your way, that's generally because you're in third person and you've forgotten who you are. And you are I am, and I am is the cause of reality, and I am is the observer. If you're wanting a call from somebody, I am that person and I am calling me. If you're wanting a job from that person, I am that company and I'm giving me a job. I am is the cause of reality. Now, even though this always works, we're not in control of reality. So sometimes the results can be a little bit different, but you will get the results that you're wanting. It might just be in a way that you weren't expecting. Keep your minds open. Don't shut down to this stuff before you've even given it a good go. For those of you who do know this technique, keep working with it, keep remembering it, and keep sending me your success stories. And for those of you who are new to it, please go to the I Am playlist and check those videos out and start to get familiar with the language. I am that, and I am. And command the result that you're wanting to see. Start to really use your language purposefully and start to become the commander of your reality from the position of I am, because I am is the commander of reality. I will follow up this with an I am meditation that I will put together. So I'll look forward to doing that and sharing that with you. What I will do is I'm going to put up the very first video, Claim Them As I Am, which was the first video I shared the I am technique on my channel. Go check that out and check out the other ones in the I am playlist. Have fun. Play with it, and just remember who you are. You are the I am, and I am is the creator of your reality. Okay, have a wonderful week. Bye.